This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking with Samantha Hanratty about Yellowjackets. How are you today?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I was listening back to our conversation about season one of Yellowjackets.
My gosh.
And then, of course, we spoke for just a few minutes with Sophie Thatcher at the beginning of the season when I had
Right.
just watched the court episode, which I thought was a crazy moment of this season. But obviously, in comparison to everything that comes after, is really
Right.
not so nuts after all. But the biggest takeaway for me is that I'm not sure that I was right about what I thought about Misty. I think we've seen like the future version of her, and she's poisoning people, she's doing lots of other questionably ethical, legal, definitely legal things.
Yeah.
But based on where she is at the end of the season three finale, as portrayed by you, like her and Shauna, especially, it's just like completely flipped from what I would have thought.
Yeah. I know. I know. I went from being one of the most insane to probably one of the more sane ones out there somehow. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of loving it. I'm kind of loving this redemption arc for Misty right now.
But it's also strange because we have seen future Misty and we know that's like who she becomes. So aside from just being like, it's the script and they told me this is what, it makes sense and there's a reason for it, how do you rationalize those two contradictions?
I think Misty is kind of a walking contradiction in a lot of ways. I feel like she makes a lot of decisions that will benefit her in the moment. And I think that's what makes her so dangerous is that she is one to do things that's going to benefit her right then and there. But at the same time, I think that she does know how to have loyalty and love for other people. And Natalie is one person that I think she really does have that for. And I think that there's a right and a wrong and a Misty's right and a Misty's wrong. And I think that she has a hard time kind of teetering between all of those things. But I think that a lot of her, I can't speak too much of her on her future self, but I think that it'll be interesting to see when we go back into society. And right now, like she's kind of found her dynamics in the group and she still kind of has that being pushed aside. And I don't really see that changing much. And I think that that could contribute to a lot of who she becomes as an adult of going through all of this trauma with these people and still not being technically one of the team.
I'm also curious how much we will see of that because I feel like part of they went like even just everybody I think is a contradiction in some ways of like how do they go from what we see here to what we see 20 25 years later, and how much do we want, as much as it would be so fulfilling to see them back in society, is that also like we can't see them back, like they can't be who they are, and it's sort of like if they just go back to society and suddenly they're portrayed by different actresses, it's like, oh, they've transformed into someone entirely. But I'm sure that would be a disappointment if you didn't get to experience what Misty was like in that moment upon the return.
Yeah, no, I definitely would love to play Misty going back home. I'm not gonna lie, just because I would love to see who her parents are, a little bit about her life. And also, we saw this season Ella Purnell, Jackie saying about the things that they did not out there, but what they did when they came back. And I think that just shows that we probably do some fucked up shit.
Can we
Excuse my
trust
language.
she's a ghost? Can we really trust her? Do we know like
But
what
she's
does she
also
say?
Shauna's conscience. So I think we might be able to take her word a little bit more seriously considering.
I know we've also had the chance to see some of your counterparts with their, older counterparts, but that's when they die. And I feel like even if everybody on the show dies, like even Shauna and Ty, Misty is gonna survive everything. So
I hope so. I hope she's our final girl.
do you see any scenario in which you get a chance to be on screen with Christina Ricci?
It's interesting because even in our photo shoot for this season that we did, we never connected. We didn't really look at each other. We kind of, Christina made it a point, and I think it was a really great point of just that Misty is not one to focus too much on her past or her future. She's very in the moment and quite self-centered in a lot of ways with that. So she's not necessarily, I don't believe in her present day self really longing to connect with her past self. So I think a lot of them are quite fond of who they used to be. And I think that they resonate a lot with that. And I think that Misty's never really been too proud of who she is, especially the way that she gets treated. I think that she doesn't see herself, um, at least as in her childhood self, that special.
Well, I think she's also, I'm worried she's going to be blamed for her latest decision, but it's actually like the hero move because everybody else is like, let's just stay here forever until the wilderness tells us to leave,
I
which
mean,
is
how will
not a good
anybody know
idea.
she was involved? Like unless somebody else spills the beans. If Hannah says something, she might have to get cut. So,
Well, it's
no, just
definitely
kidding. We love
feeling
you,
a lot
Ashley.
like what?
I said, I'm just kidding. We love you, Ashley.
Okay, yeah, didn't start here. I feel like this is feeling a lot like Lost in some ways, in terms of like we know that they get home, but we don't know how and what's going to happen to them in between. And that's a very exciting and nerve-wracking place to be, especially with a cliffhanger, literally like, Natalie sitting at the
Literal
top
cliff. Yeah.
with also no news of what's next for the show. I mean, I think it is unimaginable to me that with the fan base this show has and the conspiracies out there, that there couldn't be more of this. But if this was the way to end it,
I'm
it would be pretty nuts.
praying for another season, hoping for another season. I personally would love to do 5 seasons in total. That would be my dream, just to really be able to tell the full story. I think we could easily do 20 more episodes of the show and really finish out what we started, but we're gonna have to just see what happens. But I'm hoping for another season, and I know that that all of us are hoping for that. So
Of course. And I won't ask you to divulge anything, but do you know what would happen to some degree if there was
yeah,
more?
yeah, we actually all become best friends, and we all just decide to live happily ever after. And the future timeline was all just a joke, and we all just are happy. And Van's alive, and Lottie's alive, and I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, if you subscribe to the Lost theory where the season six is all flash sideways, that would be the biggest twist of all, that like they never made it off, like they never made it home. Like there could be a whole,
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my
we can,
God. And they've just all
I
been
would say we
playing
can
pretend out
start
there.
that here, but
I
I'm
would
sure it already
love to see
exists.
Melanie Linsky just walking around and looking and talking to Callie and talking to Jeff, and they're just talking. And it turns out they were all like trees this whole time. And and dead Adam is just like a deer over there. And Walter is a bunny.
I think Elijah Wood is terrific. I really enjoyed that dynamic. There's no, I mean, I know, we saw Melissa suddenly appeared in the present. There's no way we could like teenage Walter comes to rescue them. Like, what was there some way that we could get Walter involved in your timeline?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I would love that. If he could build a time machine, I think he would love to go see Misty. That sounds creepy. But if adult Misty doesn't like him, I don't know, maybe 18-year-old. But no, yeah, I would love to, but I don't know if I see it happening. But I would love to work with Elijah. I love him.
You follow any of the fan theories for this
Oh
show?
yeah. Oh yeah. I love the fan theories. I think that they're so interesting. I think I read one that was like Walter is actually Melissa's brother. And and there was like a whole theory about that that I read recently, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Like he didn't know his sister was alive, and he's been trying to figure out, and all of that. So that sounds pretty cool to me.
How does having such a rabid and invested fan base change working on a show like this or affect it?
I think I personally, I always just love to like give little Easter eggs or I guess like presents to fans in the form of like behind the scenes videos. And like I want the fans to know how appreciative I am of them, because honestly, I mean, they're the reason we have a show. But also like as a mega fan myself, I get just really excited to see like how creative they all are and how amazing they all are. I brought two fans, Caitlin and Benji, with me to the premiere this last season, and it was just a really good time. And that was really special. And a fan just sent me a doll that they made of Misty, and that was really cool. And I love going on Etsy and seeing the creative fan base there and buying some of the things that they made. And yeah, I'm just as supportive of them. So I'm very grateful for them.
It's really great. What else are you working on as you await news of season four?
I'm working on being a mom, honestly. I'm like, my son's 3 months old. He's had two surgeries so far and a possible third one coming up. And we're just working on the medical side of making sure that he is good and happy and healthy. And so that's really important. And, I'd love to work if a job comes up that is the right fit, but I'm also not pushing anything because I know how precious this time really is.
Of course, no, I hope everything is okay.
Thank you.
And I assume you don't necessarily have time for this, but maybe before your child, what have you seen recently on TV that you really like besides
Oh,
Yellow
that's all I
Jackets?
do. All I do is watch TV with him because I
I
he's
guess
helped all the time.
my daughter's almost two, so I guess it's like I try to fit in when I can because she's a lot more active. That at
Exactly.
that
Oh,
time, I
once
guess you're yeah.
once crawling happens and walking, I'm screwed. But right now, we've got a lot of sleep windows, which is great. So, Love on the Spectrum is definitely one of my favorites. I've been watching Love on the Spectrum. I've been watching Temptation Island. um, and oh my gosh, I love Pen 15. I could rewatch Pen 15 over and over and over again. Such a good show. And then currently, honestly, I've been trying to write and make some of my own stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's been really, really fun to try and come up with different ideas and projects that I would love to be on the other side of the camera for, and some projects I'd like to be on both sides. And so that would be really cool.
Would you say those projects are closer to Yellow Jackets or Pen 15 or maybe Love on the Spectrum?
Great question. Honestly, one of them I would say is more of the humor of Pen 15 for sure. Right now, I love the idea of keeping things kind of light. And I think that's something I would really love to do after I'm done with this show is kind of do some light television and then some darker and heavier material for film. I think is kind of what I would love for the trajectory of my career, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll see.
I appreciate your very optimistic attitude, and I wish you plenty of luck. And I hope we get a chance to talk again about this show.
Thank you so much, Abe. It was so good to see you again.